Last summer, we had a stretch of 3 weeks with no rain, not a drop. The temperature was pushing into the mid-90s almost every day, and the humidity just made it worse. I watched my neighbor's garden across the road go from green to brown in about 10 days. His tomato leaves curled up. His squash wilted flat to the ground by noon every day. His beans just gave up, and he was watering. Every single evening, he was out there with the hose, spraying everything down, but it was not enough. The water evaporated almost as fast as he could put it down. And his water bill that month was something he did not want to talk about. My garden stayed green. Every single plant, the tomatoes kept producing, the peppers kept setting fruit. The squash leaves stood up through the worst of the afternoon heat, and I did not turn on a hose once during that entire 3-week stretch. Not once. The difference was not luck. It was not some special variety of plant. It was a system I learned from my Amish neighbor Daniel years ago, and it completely changed how I think about water in the garden. Daniel told me something once that stuck with me. He said, "The time to prepare for a drought is while it is raining." The Amish do not have municipal water lines running to their properties. They do not have electric pumps or sprinkler systems. They rely entirely on what the sky gives them, and they have figured out how to make every single drop count. Today, I'm going to show you their complete water system, from how they capture rain, to how they store it, to how they deliver it to their plants without wasting a thing. 5 practical steps you can set up this season, and stick around to the end because I'm going to share the simple Amish morning moisture check that tells you exactly when your garden needs water and when it does not. So you never have to guess again. The foundation of the whole Amish water system starts on the roof, not the garden. The roof. And this is the piece that most home gardeners completely overlook because we have always had a hose to fall back on. But once you understand how much water your roof already collects every time it rains, you will wonder why you ever let it all run into the storm drain. Here is the math, and it is honestly surprising. A single inch of rain falling on a 1,000 square foot roof produces roughly 600 gallons of water. 600 gallons from one rainstorm. Most home roofs are at least that size, and many are larger. That is water that is currently running off your roof, down the gutters, and disappearing into the ground or the street. The Amish capture every bit of it. Here is how to set up a basic rain barrel collection system. You need a food grade barrel that holds 50 to 55 gallons. You can find these at farm supply stores, online, or sometimes for free from local businesses that receive bulk food ingredients in them. Make sure it is food grade if you are watering edible plants, because you do not want chemical residues leaching into your water. Position the barrel directly under a downspout from your gutter system. If your gutters do not have a downspout near your garden, you can add a simple diverter to redirect water to where you need it. Cut the downspout so it feeds directly into the top of the barrel. Cover the opening with fine mesh screen, the kind you would use for a window screen. This keeps leaves, debris, and most importantly, mosquitoes out of your water. Mosquitoes cannot breed in water they cannot reach. Install a spigot near the base of the barrel, about 3 to 4 inches from the bottom. You can buy rain barrel spigot kits for just a few dollars, and they install with a simple hole and a rubber gasket. That bottom placement is important because gravity will push the water out with decent pressure as long as the barrel has water in it. Finally, add an overflow outlet near the top of the barrel connected to a short hose that directs excess water away from your foundation. When the barrel fills up during a heavy rain, the overflow sends the extra water to a safe spot instead of flooding around the base. One barrel gives you 55 gallons, which is a good start. But Daniel had 6 barrels connected in a series along the side of his barn, which gave him over 300 gallons of storage. For a small to medium home garden, 2 to 3 barrels will make a dramatic difference. You can connect them with short sections of hose between the overflow of one barrel and the intake of the next, so they fill sequentially during a single rainstorm. Here is something most gardeners do not know, and it is part of why this water is so valuable. Rainwater is better for your plants than municipal tap water. It is naturally soft, meaning it does not contain the calcium and magnesium salts that build up in soil over time from hard tap water. It is slightly acidic, typically around a pH of 5.6 to 6.2, which is close to the ideal range for most vegetable nutrient uptake. It contains small amounts of dissolved nitrogen picked up from the atmosphere, which is a free fertilizer boost every time you water. And it is completely free of chlorine and chloramine, which are added to municipal water and which can harm the beneficial soil microorganisms you have been working to build. Daniel never had to worry about chlorine killing his soil biology because he never used treated water in the first place. Now, the second step is for those of you who want to scale beyond barrels or who live in areas where long dry spells are common and 55 gallons at a time is simply not going to be enough. Cistern storage. The Amish use cisterns extensively, especially on larger homesteads. A cistern is simply a larger storage vessel, typically holding anywhere from 200 to several thousand gallons. For a home gardener, you do not need anything that extreme. A 200 to 500 gallon above ground tank, often called an IBC tote, is an affordable and practical option. These are the large square plastic tanks inside a metal cage frame that you see at farm supply stores and industrial surplus outlets. They are food grade, they stack, and they often cost less than you would think. Position one of these on a slightly elevated platform, even just a few cinder blocks, to give you gravity pressure for delivery. Connect it to your gutter system the same way you would a barrel, with a screened inlet and an overflow outlet. The advantage of cistern scale storage is that you can capture and hold the full yield of a heavy rainstorm instead of letting most of it overflow from a small barrel. In my area, a single strong thunderstorm can easily produce 2 inches of rain on my 1,200 square foot roof. That is roughly 1,400 gallons. With just barrels, I would capture maybe 165 gallons and lose the rest. With a 500 gallon tank and 2 barrels in series, I capture over 600 gallons from that single storm. That is enough to water my entire vegetable garden for close to 3 weeks without any additional rain. If you have the space and the budget, an in-ground cistern is the gold standard. The Amish often bury large concrete or plastic tanks and connect them to barn roofs, which gives them thousands of gallons of cool stored water that does not evaporate or grow algae. But for most home gardeners, an above-ground IBC tote is the practical sweet spot. One important thing to mention here, some states have regulations on rainwater collection. Most states allow residential rain barrel collection without any permit, but a handful have restrictions, especially on larger cistern systems. Before you set up anything beyond a basic barrel, check your local and state regulations. A quick search for your state's name and rainwater collection laws will tell you everything you need to know. I do not want anyone running into trouble over something that should be the most natural thing in the world, catching rain that falls on your own roof. This brings me to the third step, and this is where the Amish approach really separates itself from what most of us do with a garden hose. Gravity-fed root zone delivery. Most of us water from above. We stand there with a hose or set up a sprinkler and spray water over the top of everything. And here's the problem with that. On a hot, sunny day, a significant amount of that water evaporates before it ever reaches the soil. The water that does land on the leaves sits there and can promote fungal diseases like early blight on tomatoes or powdery mildew on squash. And even the water that reaches the soil tends to wet only the top inch or two before running off or evaporating. The roots below, where the water is actually needed, barely get any of it. Daniel did not water from above ever. He ran a simple gravity-fed system from his barrels directly to the base of his plants. Here is how to set this up, and it is easier than you might think. Attach a standard garden hose to the spigot at the base of your rain barrel. At the end of that hose, connect a soaker hose. A soaker hose is a porous hose that sweats water slowly along its entire length. Lay it on the soil surface at the base of your plants, weaving it down the row so it passes within a few inches of each stem. Then cover the soaker hose with your mulch layer, which we will talk about in the next step. When you open the spigot on your barrel, gravity pushes water slowly through the soaker hose. It seeps out at a rate of roughly 1 to 2 gallons per minute directly onto the soil surface at the root zone. No evaporation from leaf surfaces, no water loss to the air, no wet foliage inviting disease. Every drop goes exactly where it is needed, and because the flow is slow and steady, the water soaks deep into the soil instead of running off the surface. You are watering at the pace the soil can actually absorb it. I run my soaker hose for about 30 to 45 minutes per session 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the heat and how dry it has been. After watering, I push my finger into the soil about 4 inches from a plant stem. If it feels moist 6 to 8 inches down, I know the water reached where it needs to be. If it is only wet 2 to 3 inches down, I run the hose a little longer next time. The gravity pressure from a full barrel positioned even just a foot or two above ground level is enough to run a 25 to 50 foot soaker hose effectively. If you need to cover a longer distance, elevate your barrel higher, even 3 to 4 feet on a sturdy platform or hillside, and you will get better flow. Daniel had his barrels on a stone ledge about 3 feet above his garden beds, and the pressure was more than enough to run soaker hoses through 4 long rows. Now, what I've shared with you today is a real piece of the puzzle, but it's still just one piece. If you're tired of fighting the same battles every season, if you want a garden that actually works with you instead of against you, then I'd really encourage you to check out the guide I put together. It's called the 30-Day Amish Pest-Proof Garden Protocol, and it's everything I've learned from my Amish neighbors over the last 3 decades, organized into a simple day-by-day plan you can start this season. It covers the full 5 defense layers to build a garden that defends itself from the soil up. It's got the complete 4-bed crop rotation system that stops disease and pests before they ever get a foothold, and it includes a companion planting field guide so you know exactly what to grow next to what and why. Now, there are 2 easy ways to grab it. The first way is to click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little and you'll see it. The second way, if you're watching on a television or a computer screen, is to take out your phone, open up your camera like you're going to take a picture, and hold it up to the QR code you see on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone screen. Just tap that, and it'll bring you right to the guide. No typing, no searching. Either way works. I think it's the best investment you can make in your garden. Now, the 4th step is the one that multiplies the value of every gallon you collect, and it is something the Amish consider non-negotiable. Heavy mulching for moisture retention. You can have the best rain barrel system in the world, but if your soil cannot hold on to the water you give it, you are fighting a losing battle. Water hits bare soil, the sun bakes it out, and within a day or 2, you are right back where you started. Mulch changes that equation completely. Here is what happens when you lay down a proper mulch layer. The soil surface is shielded from direct sunlight, which is the single biggest cause of moisture evaporation in a garden. Studies have shown that a 4 to 6 inch layer of organic mulch can reduce soil moisture evaporation by up to 70%. That means the water you deliver through your soaker hose stays in the root zone dramatically longer. Instead of watering 3 times a week, you might only need to water once or twice. Every gallon goes further. Every barrel lasts longer. Here is how to mulch the Amish way for maximum moisture retention. Start with the soaker hose already laid in place on the soil surface. Then layer your mulch on top of it. Closest to the soil, a thin layer of finished compost about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. This feeds the biology below while helping the soil surface retain moisture. Above that, shredded leaves or leaf mold at 1 to 2 inches. This layer holds water like a sponge. On top, straw at 2 to 3 inches. Straw is your insulation layer. It reflects sunlight, slows evaporation, and keeps the lower layers cool and damp even in the heat of summer. The total depth should be 4 to 6 inches. Leave a few inches of clearance around each plant stem so moisture does not sit against the base and invite rot, but everywhere else, cover the soil completely. Daniel used to say that he never wanted to see bare dirt in his garden from May through October. If you pull back the straw on a hot July afternoon and feel the leaf mold layer underneath, it should be cool and slightly damp. That is how you know it is working. Your soil is holding moisture while the gardens around you are baking dry. The 5th step is what makes the entire system sustainable over time, and it is the one that took me the longest to truly appreciate. Building moisture-retaining soil through organic matter. This is the slow, quiet foundation beneath everything else we've talked about today. You can collect rain, store it wisely, deliver it to the roots, and mulch heavily, but if your soil itself cannot hold water, you are still fighting an uphill battle. Here is the science behind this, and it is genuinely remarkable. For every 1% increase in organic matter in in your soil. That soil can hold approximately 20,000 additional gallons of water per acre. 20,000 gallons. That is an enormous amount of moisture holding capacity, and you build it the same way the Amish build everything: slowly, steadily, season after season. Every time you add compost to your beds, you are increasing organic matter. Every time aged manure gets worked into the soil, you are adding organic matter. Every time a mulch layer decomposes over the summer and gets incorporated into the ground, organic matter goes up. Every cover crop you turn under adds to it. The Amish have been doing this on the same land for generations, and their soil holds water like a sponge. Mine used to drain like sand after about 4 years of following Daniel's approach. The difference is unmistakable. My soil is darker, looser, and it holds moisture for days longer than it used to after a good rain or a deep watering. This is a long game, and I want to be honest about that. You will not transform your soil's water holding capacity in one season, but you will notice improvement in the first year, real improvement in the second, and by the third or fourth year, you will have soil that works with you instead of against you in every dry spell. The Amish understand this because they think in generations, not seasons, and that patience is one of the most valuable things they have taught me. Let me share some patterns I've noticed over the years that separate the Amish water approach from what most of us were taught. I did all of these myself for a long time, so no judgment here. The first pattern is watering from above instead of at the roots. Sprinklers and hose spraying feel productive, but a huge percentage of that water never reaches the root zone. It evaporates off the leaves, runs off the soil surface, or just wets the top inch. The Amish deliver water low and slow directly to the soil under mulch. The difference in efficiency is enormous. The second pattern is watering on a schedule instead of by observation. Most of us water every day or every other day, regardless of whether the soil actually needs it. The Amish check the soil first. They look at the plants. They feel the ground. They water when the garden tells them to, not when the calendar does. This saves water and prevents overwatering, which causes its own set of problems, including root rot and fungal disease. The third pattern is letting rainwater run off the property. Every time it rains, hundreds of gallons of the best water your garden could ever receive pours off your roof and disappears. The Amish do not let that happen. They capture it, store it, and use it when the dry days come. It costs almost nothing to set up, and it makes you resilient in a way that a garden hose never will. The fourth pattern is treating soil building and water management as separate tasks. In the Amish system, they are the same thing. Every shovel of compost you add improves your soil's ability to hold water. Every mulch layer you maintain reduces how much water you need to deliver. The soil building is the water management. They are inseparable, and once you start thinking about them that way, the whole system clicks into place. Now, here's the bonus technique I promised you at the beginning, the Amish morning moisture check. This is something Daniel did every single morning before he decided whether to water, and it takes about 30 seconds. Walk out to your garden first thing in the morning before the sun has had a chance to warm the soil. Pick a spot between two plants and push your finger straight down into the soil about 3 to 4 inches deep. If the soil at that depth feels cool and moist, do not water. Your plants are fine. If it feels dry at 3 to 4 inches, it is time to water. That is it. No moisture meter, no guessing, no schedule, just your finger and 30 seconds of attention. The reason you do this in the morning is that the soil is at its coolest and most honest. By afternoon, the surface can feel dry even if there is plenty of moisture below. Morning gives you the truest reading. Daniel checked 3 or 4 spots across his garden each morning, and he made his watering decision based on what the soil told him. Some weeks he watered twice. Some weeks he did not water at all. He never wasted a drop, and his garden never went thirsty. That simple daily practice is worth more than any irrigation time or smart watering system because it keeps you connected to what is actually happening in your soil. Now, what I'm showing you today is just one piece of a much bigger picture. The Amish don't do anything in isolation. Every technique connects to a whole system, and that system is what makes the difference between a garden that struggles and a garden that practically takes care of itself. I spent years learning how it all fits together, and I've put everything into a step-by-step guide called the 30-Day Amish Pest-Proof Garden Protocol. It's got the complete 5 defense layers, the companion planting charts, the 4-bed crop rotation, All of it laid out day by day, so you're never guessing what to do next. If you want to go deeper than what we can cover in one video, there are 2 easy ways to get it. You can click the link right down there in the description below this video, or if you're watching this on your TV or your computer, just grab your phone, open up the camera, and point it at the QR code on screen right now. It'll take you straight to the guide. No searching, no typing anything in. All right, let's keep going. That is what I have learned from my Amish neighbors about keeping a garden green when the rain stops falling. If any of this changed how you think about water in your garden, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And if you have your own drought wisdom that has been passed down through your family, share it. That is how we all keep learning. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I will see you in the next one.